are 5-star potential. I must read in 2025. There's a new release. I think my ultimate anticipated release in 2025. Once again, Sarah Adams has become one of my favourite authors. Buzzword after buzzword after buzzword. Hi guys, it's Rachel and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be talking about all the books I want to read in 2025. 2024 was the first year that I set myself like a yearly priority TBR list, and that list was very successful. Out of the 14 books I put on that list, I managed to read a total of 12 of them, so not too shabby, and I'm very proud of myself for really focusing on those books that have been on my TBR for ages, because if you didn't know, the way I kind of accumulated that list for 2024 was to go back through all of my TBRs from 2023, and every single book that I hadn't read from those curated TBR videos were put on to my priority list for 2024, and the fact that I managed to read 12 out of the 14 of them I'm very happy about. We're not doing that same format again because I want to switch things up, although it was successful. My 2025 list is split into 5 categories: books off my physical TBR that I want to prioritise, new releases that are coming out in 2025 that I want to prioritise. I do have a whole separate video of my anticipated releases of 2025 if you want to watch that for a more in-depth look on all the books I'm excited for this upcoming year. Series I want to finish this year, series I want to start this year, and then books I'm just interested in that I don't own but I'm kind of like, they're on my radar and I'd like to prioritise this year and actually reading, because they've been on my radar for quite a while. They're sat on my interested in list on Goodreads and it's about time that I get around to them. There are 3 books in each category, totaling a number of 15 books on this priority list. So without further ado, let's get started. We'll start with the physical TBR category, and the first one on there is Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna, and as you can tell by my bookmark, I have already started this. I'm filming this video on the 2nd of January and I started it yesterday as my first book of 2025 and I am loving it. I would love to say that all of these books on this 2025 priority list are 5-star potentials. There are definitely a lot of 5-star potentials on this list, so hopefully I'll have a really successful reading year, because if you watch my New Year reset video, you know my 2024 reading wasn't all that great, and one of my goals in 2025 is to up my average rating. So fingers crossed this might be a 5-star. Fingers crossed. This book basically follows 2 main characters, Tully and Kate, and they are inseparable best friends, and you follow them through their friendship from when they first meet when they're only like 13, 14 years old, all the way up to adulthood and motherhood, etc., following their friendship through different generations of life. And I am adoring the writing style so far. I'm really enjoying the characters. It's a heavier, I was expecting a heavy topic book, and that's definitely a category of book that I want to get into this year. I've just filmed my best books of 2024 list, and so many of them were romances, and yes, I had a great time reading the quick, fluffy, bingeable romances that didn't really have much substance. But I feel like in 2025 I actually want to start reading books with more substance and give myself more kind of like thought-provoking feelings from the books that I read, and I feel like this one is going to tick a lot of boxes and I'm loving it. So this is the first book on my priority list, and obviously definitely a book that I am going to finish because I'm currently reading it. On the same kind of like topic as more kind of like thought-provoking books for 2025, the next book on my priority TBR is Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. I've been wanting to read this book for years, and Chloe very kindly gifted it to me for my birthday in 2024, so it's about time that I read it. She actually gifted me both of Celeste Ng's work, Everything I Never Told You and Little Fires Everywhere, which I believe is her like more popular book, which has been turned into a TV show. So it'll be interesting to watch that as well and kind of like compare and contrast. I'm hoping to get to both of Celeste Ng's books this year, but this is the one I've actively put onto my priority list. This one basically follows a Chinese American family in the 1970s who live in Ohio. Lydia is the favourite child, and her parents are determined that she should fulfil the dreams that they were unable to pursue. But when Lydia's body is found in a local lake, the delicate balancing act that has been keeping the Lee family together is destroyed, tumbling them all into chaos. A profoundly moving story of secrets, longing, Everything I Never Told You is both a gripping page-turner and a sensitive family portrait about love, lies and race. And I'm really excited to get to it. Like I said, I want to delve more into substance this year rather than just like loads of cute fluffy romances, and I really feel like this one might also tick the box. The last book on my priority TBR list within the physical TBR category is The Last Murder at the End of the World by Stuart Tunton. This author I've never read from before, although I am actually intrigued to read The 7.5 Lives of Evelyn Hardcastle. But this one sounds more intriguing to me ever since I heard about it, I think from Meg with Books last year, when she described the book that basically features a group of people who live on this island, and as the fog kind of starts rolling into this island, people start dying. I was hooked and I was so intrigued to read it, but ever since I picked it up I've just been putting it off. So I'm putting it on this list to force me to read it this year, because I want to start not only kind of expanding my reading horizons in more substance with the contemporary romances I'm reading, but also kind of like branching out into the genres that I'm reading. 2024 was definitely the year that I branched out into fantasy and found some new fantasy favourites. So maybe 2025 could be the year I branch out into more mysteries and thrillers and find some more favourites within that genre, because I do find when I get into reading slumps, it's because I get into a genre slump, because all I do is tend to read romances, and yes, they're great, and yes, they're fun, and I absolutely love them. They are my favourite genre, and they'll always be my favourite genre, but I want to start just kind of like broadening my horizons in terms of the genres I'm reading as well. So this is why I've put this book on this list, because it does sound so interesting, but I just need a kind of kick up the butt to actually read it. So those are the 3 books I'd like to prioritise on my physical TBR. Obviously, I would like to read all of my physical TBR. I only have 33 books on there, so I could potentially read all the books on my current physical TBR as it is, but those are the 3 books that I actually will prioritise in reading, hopefully in the first half of this year. And if I read them all, maybe I'll update the list halfway through the year or something, but we shall see. The next category is new releases, so I don't own any of these books yet. So the first book that I must read in 2025 that's a new release is Sounds Like Love by Ashley Poston. Obviously I am a massive Ashley Poston fan. I've rated all her books. I've read 5 stars. The Dead Romantics, The 7 Year Slip, the novel Love Story. Love them all. All of them have been 5 stars, so I'm hoping another 5 stars for me this year. The synopsis doesn't sound as interesting to me as her previous books. This one basically follows our main character, who is a musician, I believe, and she gets a voice stuck in her head, and then that voice comes to life, I want to say. So once again, it's a romance story that has some sort of magical element in it, but it's definitely one of my most anticipated releases of 2025. Like I said, if you want to know all 15 books I'm looking forward to in the year of 2025, I'll leave that video up above and down below. But these next couple of books are the books I must read this year to fulfill my desperate need to read more from these authors. And the next release is from an author that hasn't had a new book out in years, so I'm super excited to read it, and that is Fredrik Backman. Fredrik Backman has a brand new standalone book, and that is My Friends. And I didn't know what this book was about until yesterday, when I saw someone add it to their list on Goodreads, and I realised that finally a cover and a synopsis reveal had happened, because when I found out about this book, the cover or synopsis wasn't released yet, and now it has. And from what I can remember from reading the synopsis yesterday, this book basically follows our main character, who is a artist, I want to believe, and she's become really obsessed with this landscape painting that features 4 guys in it, and then you find out the story of the painting, and you follow these 4 guys that all have different issues and different complications in their life going on, and one of those 4 boys actually drew the painting, and it's a story about the artist learning about the painting, learning about the story of these 4 friends. And I'm just really intrigued to see how Fredrik Backman writes this story, because I know he writes absolutely incredible characters and character development, and the fact that you're kind of learning this story alongside someone who's really intrigued in this kind of landscape painting that she's been obsessed with for years. I'm really excited to see what it's all about, and yeah, another book on my 2025 TBR for sure. And then the last anticipated release I'm super excited about, I think my ultimate anticipated release of 2025, and that's Emma Gannon's brand new book. She hasn't released a book since Olive in 2020 in terms of fictional work. She has released a non-fiction since then, but I didn't read it because it didn't really sound interesting to me. But I'm absolutely obsessed with Olive, if you didn't know. Hi, I'm Rachel, and I think it's one of my favourite books of all time. So the fact that she has a new book coming out this year, I am so excited for, so excited. I'm just so excited for it. And that is Table for One by Emma Gannon, and yeah, I'm just so excited. It basically follows our main character, who has just broken up from her long-term relationship. It's one of my favourite book tropes. Breaking up with someone, starting again, discovering yourself, self-love, self-discovery, yada yada yada. I absolutely love that trope, and Emma Gannon is going to write it perfectly. I have full faith. And it follows our main character, who has just broken up with her long-term relationship, and she doesn't really know where to start. And she starts to go on a journey of self-discovery and self-love, learning to love herself as a single person. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I'm personally not in that point in my life. I'm in a very happy, healthy relationship, and that's absolutely fine. I won't connect to that character on that level in terms of being single and kind of figuring out life now as a singleton. But I cannot wait to see what Emma Gannon writes in that story, what lessons I learn, what quotes I'm going to tab up, what quotes I'm going to annotate. Oh, I'm just so excited. I absolutely love her writing, and I cannot wait to see where she takes with the story. Those are the 3 most anticipated releases out of the 15 that I spoke about in my anticipated releases video. I have made my 2025 priority list. The next category we're going to talk about is the series I want to finish this year. I feel like I said this in my New Year reset video, I feel like romances, because it's my predominant genre, have become more and more frequent to be part of series. So I feel like companion romance series are becoming so popular at the minute that I feel like, yes, you can read it as a standalone, you don't need to read the rest of the books in the series, but I like the sense of community and friendship that you get when you read a companion series, and some of them I want to finish off this year. The first one being Beg, Borrow and Steal by Sarah Adams. So this is a brand new release for 2025, so it could have made the new release category, but the fact that I already own this copy and it's only January 2nd and it comes out on January 7th, and I actually picked it up a couple of days ago, Tesco actually had it out on the shelves already for club card at £4, so I could not pick it up. It's one of my most anticipated releases of 2025 and I already have it in my hands and I'm so excited. But this has made my series finished category because this is the third and final book in the When in Rome trilogy by Sarah Adams. I gave the first two 5 stars and I cannot wait to see where kind of like our last character ends up. So this one follows our main character Emily, who is the third sister you get to follow within this companion series. She is a teacher, but she's also an author on the side. Jack is the love interest in this book after arriving back in Rome, Kentucky after a failed engagement, and he also ends up being the colleague of Emily as teachers. What we don't know is Jack is also a mysterious novel writer, and Emily and Jack end up having to try and figure out how to get Emily's manuscript no one knows about back under wraps because it's been leaked. And enemies to lovers, trying to figure out what to do with this manuscript. It sounds like a whale of time and I'm really, really excited to read it. So this is the first book of a series that I would like to finish in 2025. Sad to finish though, because I've absolutely adored the series. Hopefully all of them are going to be 5 stars. The next series I want to finish in 2025 is the Out on the Limb duology, I believe, by Hannah Young. The first one being Out on the Limb. The book that I'm going to read in 2025 that comes out in January is Out of the Woods by Hannah Young. This is the second book in the companion series. I don't believe there's going to be any other books within this series, but who knows. I'll never say no to another book in the Out on the Limb series because Out on the Limb was a 5 star for me, and I have a feeling Out of the Woods is going to be a 5 star for me as well. Out on the Limb follows our main character Wynne, who ends up hooking up with someone at a costume Halloween party and ends up falling pregnant, and they end up moving in together, and a friendship and romance sort of blossoms from there, and it's absolutely precious. I absolutely adored it. So I cannot wait to see where Out of the Woods takes us, because Out of the Woods follows Wynne's 2 best friends, Sarah and Caleb. In Wynne's story, they are happily married, they have kids, but Out of the Woods follows their origin story, and I'm super, super excited to see kind of where their story began. And that is the next book on my 2025 priority list. And the next series I want to finish with the last book in the series is Daydream by Hannah Grace, which is the third and final book in the Icebreaker universe, and I just need to get around to this one. Everyone was reading it in 2024 and absolutely raving about it. I tried to read it, but at that point I was kind of coming into a reading slump, so I didn't want to hinder my experience because I've heard such incredible things about this one. And this one follows our main character Hallie, who is like a bookworm, so she's very much like our sort of vibe, hence why I didn't want to rush into reading this book, because I feel like it is going to be a 5 star for me when I do read it. And her love interest Henry, who is part of the friendship group that you meet in Icebreaker and Wildfire. Henry is struggling with English. Hallie, obviously being a reader, is really good at English at college, so Hallie ends up tutoring Henry, and in return Henry kind of makes Hallie kind of popular, and a romance ensues from there. So I'm really excited to delve back into this world, see where the characters are at, and wrap up another series. With finishing 3 series, it's only right to treat myself to start 3 new series in 2025. The first series I'd like to start, because I have the 3rd book in this series on my physical TBR, is the Delilah Green Doesn't Care series by Ashley Herring Blake. I have the 3rd one because Chloe gifted it to me for just being her friend, I think. I went up to visit her with Emily and she gifted me a book, which is very precious of her, and I'm very, very grateful. But it wasn't for a birthday or a Christmas around, I think. And this is the 3rd book in, I don't know what the series is called, but the first one is Delilah Green Doesn't Care, and that's the book that I would like to read this year. Hopefully read all of them. I can't remember what the second one is. The second one is Astrid Parker Doesn't Fail, and the last one is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date. And the reason Chloe got me this one is because it features fake dating. But someone commented on one of my videos when I spoke about this book saying that it's best to actually read all of them in order, even though they are companion series. So that's exactly what I'm going to do this year. I've put this book on my series to start this year, to start Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I have no idea what any of them are about, but I'm excited nevertheless because I really enjoy Ashley Herring Blake's middle grades, so I'm hopefully finally going to delve into her adult novels this year. The next series I want to start, because once again I have the 2nd book on the series on my physical TBR, but I don't have the 1st, and that is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams, the 2nd one being the rule book. So I'd like to read the cheat sheet and then read the rule book in 2025. Once again, Sarah Adams has become one of my favourite authors, so I'd like to just read her backlist in 2025, and this is the next series I do kind of want to start and kind of get my teeth into. I don't actually know, I think it's a sport romance. I think the cheat sheet follows a football player romance, and I don't really want to read the blurb of this one in case it spoils me for the first one. So this is another series that I want to start in 2025, the cheat sheet being the first one, and then hopefully diving into the rule book. And then the last series I want to start this year and hopefully finish, because a very, very kind viewer gifted me all 3 of this trilogy last year, and that That is Written in the Stars by Alexandra Belfer. This is the first book and I do have the other two. So it's a great series to start and finish in 2025 to get them off my physical TBR. These are all kind of like sapphic romances based in the same universe, following different people. This one follows our main character Darcy, who goes on a really failed date with Elle and ends disastrously. But because her brother is very much adamant that he wants her to find love, she tells him a little porcupine and says that it went really, really well. And then unfortunately Darcy and Elle end up back within each other's orbit along with her brother, and they have to try and fake date because Darcy has told her brother that it went really well to get him off her back. And so Elle goes along with the ride to try and make Darcy's brother believe that they're in love, and it's a fake dating situation because I love me some fake dating. So the other two books in the series are Counting Your Lucky Stars and Hang the Moon, so hopefully I can get all of these three books read in 2025, but as long as I started it, that kind of counts because that's the only book technically on my 2025 TBR priority list. And then the final category within my 2025 TBR priority list is the books I'm currently really interested in. These are books that have been on my interested in list on Goodreads for years now, and I think it's finally about time that I finally read them. The first one being People We Keep by Alison Larkin, I want to say. And this book basically follows, I'm just going to read the synopsis out for you. It's about a young songwriter longing to find home in the world. Little River, New York, 1994. April is living in a motorless motorhome that her father won in a poker game. Failing out of school, picking up shifts at Margot's diner, she's left fending for herself in a town where she's never quite felt at home. When she borrows her neighbour's car to perform an open mic night, she realises her life could be so much bigger than where she came from. After a fight with her dad, April packs her stuff and leaves for good, setting off on a journey to find life that's all hers. As April moves through the world, meeting people who feel like home, she chronicles her life in songs she writes and discovers that where she came from doesn't dictate who she has to be. This lyrical, unflinching tale is for anyone who's ever yearned for the fierce power of found family or to grasp the profound beauty of choosing to belong. Doesn't that just sound exactly like a book that I'm absolutely going to love in terms of like wanting to discover books this year with more substance? Yes please. And the cover is just beautiful, so I'll probably buy it on my Kindle and then read it and see if it's going to be a 4 or 5 star and then buy the physical copy. But absolutely so excited to read this. This book's been on my radar for years now. It came out in 2021 and I'm really hoping 2025 is the year that I finally read it. The next book on my interested in category is All That Rage by Sabaa Tahir. I feel like Sabaa Tahir is kind of like having a rise again because I feel like her Amber in the Ashes series is getting like re-sparked of joy with a lot of people in 2024. But I'm not interested in that fantasy. I'm interested in her contemporary, which is All My Rage. So All My Rage basically follows two best friends, Sal and Noor, and they're basically like family because they're so close. And growing up as outcasts in a small desert town of Juniper in California, they understand each other like no one else does, until the fight which destroys their bond with a swift flurry of stars exploding. Now Sal must scramble to run the family motel as his mother's health fails and his grieving father loses himself to alcoholism. Noor, meanwhile, walks a harrowing tightrope working at her grateful uncle's liquor store while hiding the fact that she's applying for college so she can escape him and Juniper forever. While Sal's attempts to save the motel spirals out of control, he and Noor must ask themselves what friendship is worth and what it takes to defeat the monsters in their past and the ones in their midst. So another kind of like more hard-hitting contemporary book that I think has more substance. So I'm really excited to read that one as well. And then the final book on my 2025 TBR is Blue Sisters by Coco Mellors. I read Cleo and Frankenstein last year, and really loved the writing style but didn't really like the plot. I was expecting a lot more from that book than what I actually got out of it, and it left me feeling a little bit empty because I had such high hopes for that book and it just felt a little bit flat for me. But Coco Mellors, I'm going to give another shot to because Blue Sisters follows a group of sisters and I feel like this book is going to have more substance in it. So I'll quickly read you the synopsis and then we can end off this video. Blue Sisters basically follows 3 estranged siblings as they return to their family home in New York after their beloved sister's death in this forgettable story of grief, identity and complexities of family. Buzzword after buzzword after buzzword. Avery, the eldest and a recovering heroin addict turned straight-laced lawyer, lives with her wife in London. Bonnie, a former boxer, works as a bouncer in Los Angeles following a devastating defeat. And Lucky, the youngest, models in Paris while trying to outrun her hard-partying ways. They also had a 4th sister, Nikki, whose unexpected death left Avery, Bonnie and Lucky reeling. A year later, as they each navigate grief, addiction and ambition, they find they must return to New York to stop the sale of the apartment they were raised in. But coming home is never as easy as it seems. As the sisters reckon with the disappointments of their childhood and the losses of the only person that held them together, they realise the greatest secrets they've been keeping might not have been from each other, but from themselves. Another book with substance and a lot of buzzwords for me, so I'm really excited to give Coco Mellors another chance with Blue Sisters because I feel like this book is very much more up my alley than Cleopatra and Frankenstein was. So those are all my books on my 2025 TBR list. They're all written down in my bullet journal, so hopefully I can tick them off across the year and get all of them read, because I'm excited for every single one of them, especially my interested in little category. I feel like those 3 books really feel like they're going to be 5-star potential just because I've been so excited to read them for so long now. And going into 2025 in trying to read more books with substance and depth and emotional intelligence compared to all like the fluffy romances that I have been reading and still do really enjoy, I'm just hoping that those 3 books do really kind of like tick all those boxes for me. So before my camera battery dies, I'm going to leave this video here. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a massive thumbs up and subscribe down below to see future content from me. I do anything from monthly TBRs, monthly wrap-ups, weekly reading vlogs, any of my book content that you can think of. I usually have it here on this channel, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.